All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. This is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Chapter 14 presentation. Before that, I'll just give a short summary. Chapter 1 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam starts with an invocation verse, Janmadi asya yato anvayad itaratas. This verse concludes that we should meditate upon the absolute truth, which is bhakti. And this chapter also highlights the ultimate good for people in Kali Yuga, and which is bhakti to the Lord, to Krishna and to Radharani. In chapter 2, Sutta Goswami answers the questions which are being asked by the sages who are gathered in Naimisharanya. And the verse, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo, the supreme dharma is devotional service. Again, it is highlighted here. 3 features of the absolute truth, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan, are explained as the non-dual substance in verse 11. He is one, not 2 or 3 or even more, though he has 3 features. Chapter 3 lists all the avatars of Krishna, and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the topmost, the literary avatar of Krishna. Verse 28 is the Paribhasha Sutra, Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa. Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. And all incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. Verse 40 says that the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is again the literary incarnation of Krishna. Chapter 4 is the appearance of Narad to Vyas as he is lamenting because he hasn't written anything about the sweet pastimes, the leelas of Krishna. So chapter 5, Narad instructs Vyasadev and inspires his heart and to write about Krishna's Braj Leela and about devotional service. Narad narrates his own pastime with the 4 Kumaras and his transformation due to Prem. And in chapter 6, Krishna appears upon the lotus of his heart, Narad's heart, and disappears suddenly. So Narad speaks about that. In chapter 7 appears the famous verse Atmaramas Cha Munayo. In this verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained it many times. And the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, even liberated souls, is one of the explanations. In chapter 8, 3 topics are covered: Kunti's prayers, Parikshit being saved, and Yudhishthira's grief after war. And in chapter 9, Bhishma Dev passes away after offering prayers and meditating upon the form of Krishna as Arjuna's charioteer. In chapter 10, it talks about separation in the mood of Aishwarya Bhav, especially expressed by the woman as Krishna departs Hastinapur. Chapter 11 is the joyful meeting of Dwarkavasis with their beloved Krishna. And verse 9 talks about the movements of Krishna. Then chapter 10 talks about we've already finished chapter 10. Chapter 12 highlights the birth, qualities, and achievements of Parikshit Maharaj. Chapter 13 is Dhritarashtra, his chastisement by Vidura, who leaves, and so does Gandhari, and Yudhishthira laments, and Narad arrives at that time. And chapter 14, this is what I'm going to present. So Arjun has gone to Dwarka to understand Krishna's activities and his intentions, who did not return for some months. On seeing inauspicious omens, Yudhishthira understands their meanings when he sees Arjun arrive in distress. When change of time is characterized by greed, anger, cheating, reverse sequence of seasons, relationships based on deception, quarrels, and conflicts between closest relations, it cannot go unnoticed. Yudhishthira spoke to Bhishma Sen about these signs and concern about his younger brother Arjun's delay in returning. Vedic culture is such that expression of something bad happening is also said very carefully. In verse 8, Yudhishthira speaks of Krishna's departure and lamentation, but with Saraswati's help, his words have another meaning. Thus, without talking directly about Krishna's desire to give up his Leela pastimes, as indicated by Narad, Yudhishthir speaks that perhaps time has come when the Lord desires to establish his expansion form of Narayan. When we miss someone, we look for and remember their good qualities. Here we are reading about Krishna and the embodiment of mercy. Yudhishthir remembers and glorifies Krishna's mercy, because of which he had attained wealth, kingdom, wives, life, family, citizens, victory over enemies, and the higher world. He addresses Bhima as lion and tiger among men, warning him, the one so strong that fear would run away from him. However, the omens on earth indicated fear and misfortune. Auspicious animals like the cow were circling Yudhishthir counterclockwise and inauspicious clockwise. His horses were crying, heart was trembling, and he heard loud, harsh cries of the crow emptying the universe. The sun's light succumbed to spreading darkness. Lakes and rivers, along with minds of all beings, were agitated. Fire did not burn with ghee. Again, he is worried for the future of earth. Where cows do not give milk, calves do not drink milk, and the deities seem to be weeping. In verse 21, Yudhishthir notices, as though seeing through his heart's vision, the earth being devoid of the feet of the Lord and auspicious markings on them. These are all signs of degradation of this age that we can relate to, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the power of the holy name for this yuga. And by Sadhu Sang and Guru Kripa, we can see Krishna within our heart and desire to serve the divine couple. Slowly, step by step, progression, our service to the divine couple in our own original identity will be revealed. While the king was contemplating the reasons of the ill omens, Arjun arrived in Hastinapur. Arjun had lost all luster and was grieving with downcast face and tears. Verses 25 to 38 are inquiries by Yudhishthir about relatives in Dwarka. How can anyone, especially Arjun, be unhappy when Krishna is around? In verse 34, Yudhishthir asks if Arjun's reason for distress is Krishna's unhappiness, but he does so in an indirect way. Is he happy in the assembly hall in Dwarka, he asks. And in verse 35, is Krishna, with the help of Balram, residing happily in the ocean of the Yadu family for giving prem, liberation, and material prosperity? Verse 36, Krishna's strong arms protect the Yadavas who are worshipped even by the Devatas. These are eternal associates of Krishna who have his special protection. Verse 37 mentions Satyabhama and other 16,000 queens who serve Krishna's feet, and by his mercy they acquired the Parijata tree which was being enjoyed by Indra's wife Sachi. From verse 39, Yudhishthir inquires from Arjun about his own well-being as he was not speaking. Here we get an understanding of what life was like at that time, how different values and relationships were. By honoring the Bhagavatam properly, we learn life lessons and about how to conduct ourselves properly in society, the reasons for peace of mind. In the final verse of this chapter 44, Yudhishthir gets straight to the point, as though he is speaking for Arjun. Do you consider yourself empty in consciousness because of separation from your most dear friend? Thus, a mood of separation from Krishna was displayed by Arjun in his mannerism by Yudhishthir, using words of inquiry, having many meanings. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.